to be as table. So anyway, you see, the seeing is not really believing there, you know. And the shapes, the colors that we see are not really necessarily out there, right? This modern science, Western science, is saying that like dogs, they don't see colors, you know, and the cats see the shapes in different ways than human beings, right? And reptile, animals have different, they don't even see, they just see the heat, sense the heat and stuff like that, right? So when we think about it, then which one is true, which one is real? What we see is real, or what the dogs see is real, reality, or what the cat is seeing is reality, or what the reptiles, the ants, the bugs see is reality. Which one is reality, right? If we have to, let's say, vote among all 6 realms, right? In Buddhism we talk about the 6 realms. So if we vote among all 6 realms, as Buddha taught, I think animal realm will win over human realm, right? They're the majority, isn't it? And so therefore you can see the wisdom of Buddha, seeing the reality, of emptiness, is what we are trying to discover here. And we are getting closer and closer in the modern science, okay, from the Western science point of view too. So first we have the atomic science, and now you have the modern physics, right? From the modern physics point of view, there's not even atoms. They said atom doesn't exist. But what they have discovered now is something called quark, right? Quark. From the quantum physics point of view, there's now quarks, or there's a string, right? String theory, we have string theory, quarks. There's not even atom. Atom even doesn't exist. It's an old theory, okay, old news. So now it's a quark and a string. So we are simply hanging in there on a string theory, right, for our existence, a quark. There's nothing truly existent. So you can see how Buddha's teaching is becoming more and more closer to the scientific discovery every year, every year. Buddha taught all these theories. He taught the atomic theory, okay, in the Hinayana teachings, right? In the Buddhist tradition, we have 3 yana teaching, right? Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. In the Hinayana teaching, Buddha taught about atomic theory. In the Mahayana teaching, Buddha taught about mind-only theory and emptiness theory, right? And so now you can see the modern science is catching up slowly with Buddha's teaching. Buddha taught this theory 2600 years ago already, right? For Buddhists, it's old news. Right? For the rest of the world, we have this new theory, new discovery, like quantum physics and so on. But they still haven't found the true reality, right? It's getting closer. And so therefore, you can see how Buddha's teaching, even from a scientific point of view, how relevant it is, right? Atomic science and Buddha's teaching on atomic level, from what we call the Buddhist philosophical schools such as Vaibhashika, Sautantrika. We have Drumdashi, right? The 4 tenet systems. So like Chaturmawa, Vaibhashika school, and in Dodeba, Sautantrika school, talk about atomic science. Right? Buddha taught about atomic science. And then when it comes to Chittamatra, the Mahayana school, mind only, then it becomes softer. And Buddha said, not exactly as we see, but actually it is all in your mind. There's nothing outside. It's all in your mind. Right? It's all your mental projection. Right? The reality outside is your mental projection. That's in Tibetan, the Buddhist literature, it's called kuntak. Right? Kuntak. All mental projection. Everything is existing in your mind only. Okay? Which doesn't mean there's no reality outside, but what Buddha is saying is the way you see it, right, and the way you feel it, and the way you label it, it's all happening in your mind only, isn't it? I can never see the way you see it, right? It's only in your mind. It's based on your eye consciousness, based on your mental consciousness, based on your conditioning of how you are brought up, right? And the same way, the way I see it, you will never see it. It's different. And so that's what the Buddha is teaching about mind only, you know. When Buddha taught about the Mahayana teachings on mind only, it doesn't mean there's no mineral water outside necessarily, but the way you see it, the way you project, and the way you relate to it, it's all in your mind, right? It's up to you. But then after that, then Buddha taught about there's not even mind. Even mind does not exist. It's emptiness, right? That's what we were talking about. Right now, like all of us, we have a lot of fear. You know, a lot of fear of losing the sense of self. You know, when someone says, you know, you are empty, it's kind of offending, isn't it? It's much better when someone says you're full of something, right? Instead of saying you're empty, you do not exist. That's kind of very offending statement, you know. And so that's why I think the science, modern science, so to speak, is on their way of discovering emptiness, but maybe not yet there, technically as well as maybe emotionally not ready, right? Emotionally not ready to kind of let go of self-existence. But anyway, so these are the Buddha's teachings. You can see how the Buddha's teachings are kind of scientific in many ways. Okay, in many ways it's very scientific. And a lot of times, if you look back in the history how Buddha taught, all these sutras that Buddha taught are in discourse, right? Buddha's having discussion with students, dialogue. It was all dialogue, right? Someone's asking Buddha a question and then he speaks half the sutra and then there'll be next question and then half the sutra and that's it. Or sometimes Buddha's asking question and one of his disciples start talking, like Avalokiteshvara, right? Chenrezig or Jampeyang, right? The sutras are like that, right? It's dialogue, it's beautiful. There's never been really Buddha in the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. There's never been an incident where Buddha really preached, right? There was no preaching, actually. It was all dialogue, you know. And so you can see that in this kind of dialogue situation, Buddha's addressing the issues of each person's question, right, coming from different backgrounds. Right? Some of the persons in this dialogue who are asking questions come from different social classes, right? Some are from the untouchable class, some are coming from more well-off class, right? So you can see how Buddha's teaching are actually addressing the relevant issues of each person and each lifestyle in this kind of teaching, in dialogue, right? Rather than preaching. When you preach, you don't relate. Right? You don't have to relate to any kind of relevance of any lifestyle. You just preach your own thoughts, right? Like what I'm doing here. Isn't it? Later on, all the Buddhists became great preachers. But Buddha Shakyamuni himself, he did not really preach. He gave these dialogues. So the beauty of dialogue here then becomes very relevant for each person, each lifestyle, and each questions. And so you can see from that, Buddha's teachings are really relevant to our society. For example, I will give you one, since we are talking here in the management, World Management Institute. Have you heard of the sutra called the 10 Wheels Sutra? Dasha Chakra. It's in our Kangyur, it's called Sai Ningbo Korlo Chubendo. It's a dialogue. It's dialogue and thought between the Buddha and Sai Ningbo, Bodhisattva, Sai Ningbo, Changchu Sampa, or Siddhigarbha. It's called the 10 Wheels. And this is very important for you, I think. Very important for us to study at some point. In this sutra, the question was about how should a bodhisattva, a ruler, a layperson, a ruler should rule his or her country. Then Buddha gave these 10 topics, 10 points about how a bodhisattva can rule his country. So it's a management issue, It's a management issue about or what you need to think about, in terms of ruling a country, service. So this 10 Wheels Sutra is really beautiful sutra. I hope you will have a chance to read and study at some point. It's in Kangyur. It's in, I think, in Dode section. I read it 30, 40 years ago when I was in the monastery. I think it's in Dode section and the volume Shah or something like that. It's a beautiful sutra. So Buddha talks about the one of the wheels is about, let's say, military, and the other wheel is about commerce, and one wheel is about the transportation, things like that. Actually, I've written also an article on that. And so therefore, I think you can see, all the teachings of the Buddha are quite practical and relevant teachings. Like you all know, such teachings as the 6 paramita practices, right, in the Mahayana tradition. 6 paramita practices, generosity, discipline, patience, exertion, and then meditation or mindfulness and wisdom, right? These 6 paramita teachings are so relevant for our householder's life. It's a great practice for us, right, as a lay person. It's a great practice for leadership. It's a great practice for everyone. And so what I'd like to conclude here is that we as Asian Buddhist practitioners we are born into this very rich culture, right? Very rich culture of Buddhist teaching, and we're born into this very rich tradition of spirituality. And so, therefore, in many ways, this is a very precious heritage, very precious heritage that we all should treasure in our hearts and preserve it. And the way we can really preserve it is when we truly understand what this treasure is, and I was speaking to other people earlier in different Asian countries that there is a one fault here for us is because we are born into this family, we usually, sometimes we don't question very much, That's the one problem, right? We must question. Otherwise we will not understand. And when we don't understand, then we have nothing to preserve, So we must question. We must question. And from the Buddhist teaching point of view, questioning mind is a wisdom mind. Okay? Wisdom is in the question, not in answers. Right? Does that make sense? Right? We always think there's wisdom in the answer. We're always looking for answer. But if we're not asking the question, right, or if we're not asking the question right, how can we expect to get the right answer, right? And so, therefore, I think as Asian Buddhist practitioners, don't take everything for granted. You must ask questions. Not only ask questions, but go deeper, and discover this teaching of the Buddha and bring it to our lives, bring it into our hearts. Like in the West and throughout the world right now, the Buddhist teachings are extremely popular, not because of its culture only, but because of its content. Right? There's so much benefit there. Like you can see, the mindfulness practice is used throughout the world to remedy many difficult situations in life, like hypertension, right? In terms of health, okay, hypertension. They use meditation for that, and a lot of people say it helps. And meditations are used for asthma, okay. And meditation is now being used also in pain management clinics. I've attended one of the conferences too. And so you can see how Dharma is really beneficial for not only attaining enlightenment, but also attaining a pain-free life that you can enjoy in this life. So I think that's all I have to say, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try.
Thank you, Rinpoche. We'll now have the question and answer session.
One is regarding what exactly is a rainbow body, and why can't we see the masters? I mean, contemporary masters attaining rainbow body. The second question is, actually, a friend of mine asked me this question, and I had no answers, of course. And I would like to forward this question to you, to you. That is, if the view in Mahayana is non-duality, then what is the view of Vajrayana? Or does it just accept the Mahayana view and just the skill, only the maybe it's the difference with this method? Is that so?
Actually, rainbow body is interesting. When teachers go into rainbow body, they leave hair and nails only, right? Rest disappear. Then one time, someone in the West asked me, like, does that mean like everyone in Zangdo Peri are bald with no nails? I said, yeah, maybe there's a good wig business there. You should open a wig shop. Actually, there are some stories, even today, some teachers going into Rainbow Body or similar. Personally, I know one Kempo from Tibet. He was in India for a long time, and then he went back and passed away in Tibet. And his kodong actually has shrunk, like only like this. And most of the times when they don't go into rainbow bodies, people open the door. They're not supposed to go in, right? In old days, then I think many masters just dive freely in the mountains, wherever they want, with solitude, right? It's easier to have that kind of situation. Rainbow body is the process of actually connecting or realizing or becoming one with our luminous mind, right? Luminosity, visa, luminosity, nature mind. And especially it's like from Dzogchen practices like kata, tekchu and toga, toga practice. Mostly toga, it's connected to toga. In the second part, the view part, Mahayana and Vajrayana agrees with the non-duality. It's the same view. We both agree on emptiness view, non-duality view. It's the same thing. But on top of that, the one thing the Vajrayana adds to it is what we call Tagnang, Tagpinawa, a sacred outlook or pure vision. Like, we are supposed to see that everyone in the world, like Pao and Pamo, like Dakas and Dakinis, everyone's like in the mandala, right? We visualize the mandala, right? We visualize the mandala, and then the Buddha, 5 Buddha families, and the bodhisattvas. All sentient beings are Buddhas and bodhisattvas. That's what we visualize in our practice, So that's what we call Tagnang, pure vision or sacred outlook. That's added on top of the non-duality from the Vajrayana point of view, I think.
I didn't have the merit to read your book, Mind Beyond Death, but I was fortunate enough to listen to Rinpoche's teaching. I think an interview during the translation conference in Bay, where
yes.
Rinpoche mentioned about the book talks about the essence of the mind after death.
Yes.
And then I did read part of the tutorial in the class Tibetan version, but then that confused me more, especially because the contents are, especially during the Sipe Pardo section,
Yes.
the content of the teachings there explains what is depicted in our teachers, where the bad guy is dragged. And
What happens during what?
During the teachers, the festivals that we have in Bhutan.
Teju,
Yes, la.
Yes, La.
So, so a bit confused about the real essence of what that would mean, the real essence of having, what does it really want, try to tell about, especially on that CPA part of section.
Bardo teaching. Usually Bardo is pretty scary, right? When we think about Bardo, it's kind of scary. Everybody gets scared, right? It's a little bit like haunted house. You go in there and there's so many different, like, scary looking deities. So it's actually not like that, These teachings on the Bardo Turtle about the deities and so on are actually symbolic, right? Symbolic. It's about working with your mind. And many of my teachers told me that if you're not familiar with the practice of deity meditation, right, yidam meditation, you will not even see them in the Bardo. You'll just feel the energy, of course. You'll have the energy of the power of the presence of these deities or the nature mind, but you will not see them. But even in this life, when we visualize, it's so hard, right? We try to close our eyes, open our eyes, look at the tanka, try to visualize. We still cannot visualize, right? So during the time of the Bardo, if we see, we are very lucky. We're very lucky. So don't worry, don't get scared about these deities. If we see them, you're very lucky. Even when we look at tanka, we don't see them right now. So anyway, this is not like that. But in terms of Siva Parto is really connected to the idea of taking rebirth, right? You're now ready to take the next birth. And so during that time, if you're a practitioner and if we are capable of practicing in that situation, so the main practice is connecting with the Guru principle, teachers, your teachers, There are different practices during each part, right? So this time, you really connect with the Guru, your teacher, and supplicate, and connect to the Nirmanakaya form of the Guru. And so, for that reason, I think the Chichu is mentioned there, Guru Rinpoche and the 8 manifestations. So, you really need to connect with the Guru principle there and try to remember your devotion and supplicate the Guru, and then really visualize the Guru and so on. There's many practices there, right? You're visualizing the Guru. And through that, we're hoping the Guru will lead us to the next birth, to a, positive human birth and so on.
Well, before when Rinpoche was talking something about the modern science.
Yes.
So I remembered when my stay in the school, my teacher taught me that to pursue dharma, we should have Delwa Ge and Jorpachu.
Say it again.
Delwa Ge Jorpachu.
Delwa Ge and Jorpachu,
yes. Amongst them is like Wang Pogonga.
Yes.
So in this modern world, with the command over this modern science and technology, a blind can see, and a deaf can hear, and even dumb can speak for certain extent. So do it mean that we people, even without the uses of the science and technologies, we cannot pursue for the dharma if person is really blind and deaf? This is my first question. Yes. These days, even with the use of technologies, blind can see and deaf can hear, dumb can speak. So I've seen some contradiction between the. My second question that my friend asked me to speak is about that I heard that there are so many sacred practices of the yogis. Secret, right? Secret practice, which shouldn't be performed before the public.
Okay.
Well, amongst them is, I believe, Tumo. Is it Talung means Tumo? Talung Tikoro. But I can see that these days one monk is practicing Talung. It is uploaded in YouTube, and which everyone can see it. So.
That's right. I've seen a lot on YouTube. Yeah.
Yes. Again, there is some contradictions. So I would like to get clarified.
Okay. First of all, with the modern technology and advancement in the medical science, if we can provide and give support for any kind of defects, physical defects, like faculty problems, definitely, we will have, we're getting more and more opportunities to practice Dharma. If we use the modern technology properly, I think they can become a great aid for practicing Dharma. And if we can find a full sense of medical technology that can repair all these things, right? Then it's the same as having the Tawa Ge and Jopachu, same. I don't think there's a much difference, Does that answer your question? The first one. Right. Secondly, yes. Recently, I was telling someone in Hong Kong that now the secret Vajrayana is now becoming publicly secret. Right? The secret Vajrayana practices are now publicly secret, and what is used to be public about like Shine, shamatha meditation is now kind of secret because not many people know how to meditate. Right? Meditation becoming secret, and then tantric like Tsalung, becoming public. So it's kind of going opposite way, which is kind of sad in many situations. From the traditional Buddhist point of view, I think this is not beneficial because you can see from Milarepa's Guru, his teaching, Milarepa said that when the tantric teachings are not practiced secretly, then there will be less siddhas, less mahasiddhas, less realized masters. So some things are actually meant to be practiced in some kind of solitude. Secret or not secret, it means solitude. Right? Some things need to be practiced solitude, and some things you can practice in groups, in public, and so on. So it's a little unfortunate now that everything's on YouTube. But then it doesn't really matter because the physical yoga part is not a big deal in some sense. Okay, like Hatha yoga, and also Hindu. We do a lot of Hatha yoga. There's a lot of common things like that, and Qigong, and so on. Physical part is okay, but when you combine that physical practice of yoga with the mental, meditation part, then it's a Vajrayana, secrecy there. But if you only see the physical yoga alone, without the full explanation of the mental engagement in practice, then it's still not complete. So it's not still completely public.
Having read some of important texts written by Hermann Hesse on Siddhartha, reading simple texts on religion written by well-known writers, I have complexity in understanding working every Buddhist text, and almost all talks about how to deal with your mind. Reading so many texts, sometimes it becomes very complicating to understand how to work with our mind. So my question may seem foolish, but I still want to ask to you, what is the simplest way of working with mind? It's the first question. And second question is, having birth as human being is the first pleasure and opportunity that we can practice whatever way comes in our way, whatever things come in our way. But another question is our mind fundamentally pure? What I mean to say is, are we fundamentally good? Are we by birth good, or is our mind fundamentally pure?
Yes.
These are two questions that I want to ask.
Thank you. Simplest way of working with our mind is to do a short meditation every day. Yeah? Short meditation, not long. Just say 10 minutes. Okay? Very simple. 10 minutes you sit in a meditation. Like you can do that in your bed, in your bedroom, living room, somewhere quiet, Just sit for 10 minutes in a quiet space. Okay? And watch your breath. Okay, you breathe naturally. Don't try to breathe a special way or anything. Breathe naturally. You watch your breath. When you breathe out, follow your breath. Your mind one-pointedly, 100% focused on breath. That's all. That's your job for 10 minutes, not to think of anything else. Just follow your breath out. One-pointedly, 100% follow your breath out. And when you breathe in, relax. Okay, just relax. You don't have to stress so much when you breathe in. But when you breathe out, yes, you need to focus your mind. Just like that. Sit for 5-10 minutes. Okay. Let's say 5 minutes first. Slowly increase to 10 minutes. When you do that, then you will see how is your mind functioning, right? Then we will get to know our mind a little bit more. Okay? Every day, try to sit 5 minutes with yourself alone. Okay? Totally be with yourself. Because our usual habit is always to focus outside, isn't it? Right? Our usual habit is always to see outside and focus outside. And we usually know other people's mind more than our own mind. Isn't it? Right? We know that they're angry. We know that they are not a good person. We know they are thinking bad thoughts. But we don't know what we are thinking. Right? We seem to know other people's mind more. Not only that, we seem to know how to fix them. Right? They shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. Right? We know how to fix. But we don't, when it comes to our own mind, we are kind of clueless. Right? And so that's why the first thing, simplest thing to work with your mind is get to know your mind first. And how can we get to know our mind first? Is through sitting. Okay? Simple shamatha meditation like that. Breathing technique. And during that time, when the thoughts come up, right? When the thought comes up, then you say, okay, I have a thought. Just say it to yourself, oh, thought. Then let go of that thought and come back to your breathing. Okay? Come back to your breathing. This is the way to bring our mind to the present, right? Present moment. Because we are usually never in the present. We are always in the past or future. Right? Our mind is always in the past or future. So this is the way to get to know our mind, and then through that, then we can work with our mind. Okay? Then you will see, okay, how many negative thoughts, positive thoughts, emotions, right? And then we need to remedy them. That's number one. And number two, the second question that you have was, yes, from Buddha's point of view, our mind is genuinely pure. Okay? Our nature of mind is genuinely pure from beginning. There's no impurities. It's a Buddha mind, you know, which is quite different from some other religion. Right? Some other religion talk about original sin. But here in Buddhism, you know, we talk about original purity. It's totally opposite. Right? In Tibetan, the Dzongchen tradition, the term we use is kathak. Right? Kathak. Alpha pure. Katha. Or originally pure.
My question is that there are different religions in this world, and there are many people who follow different religions. But as a Buddhist, we believe in this rebirth and suffering after death. So my question is that, is it only the Buddhist people who will go through this rebirth and suffering after death, or is it everyone who will go through it?
It's really difficult to say, isn't it? For Buddhists, it's easy because we believe in Buddha and Buddha's teaching. And so we can say, okay, Buddha taught there's a life after death, so we follow his instruction. But if you have to really logically, right, prove there's a rebirth or not and things like that, questions, it's a very difficult question. Right? I usually say that if we can be a good person in this life, right? If we can be a good person, a kind person, who can be helpful to others and helpful to oneself, and happy, okay, happy and kind person, and do some positive things, right? When you do positive things like generosity, right, patience, things like that, if you engage in these practices, then people you're dealing with, they're happy with you, and your mind also will be happy. Then it doesn't really matter if there's a next life or not, right? If there is a next life, you will have a good rebirth. If there isn't a next life, you have lived your life very well, right? So I think that's my theory, my logic, you know. But it's hard to actually compare all religion and then say, you know, if there is really like next life or not, that we all can come together and agree. I think it's not possible, right? Most religions don't have the same idea about rebirth as Buddhists do. I think only Buddhists and Hindus, you know, we are the two religions of the world that agree on this issue.